Bleach TYBW episode 45, Defend You, is here, and I don't even know if I should call this an episode. This was like Kubo and the anime staff looked at the manga ending and said, okay, forget the old blueprint, let's traumatize everyone properly this time. Because this episode had Rukia joining Ichigo against Yhwach, Orihime going through absolute hell, Uryu cooking Yugram, and Ichigo revealing a Bankai that we have literally never seen before. And the craziest part is almost all of this is anime original. Like, manga readers were also sitting in awe, just like the anime onlys this time. Nobody knew what was coming. As of now, the moment I'm recording this video, 23 hours have passed since the episode aired, and it is still the highest rated TV episode of all time, and yes, that includes non-anime episodes as well. And this is an absolutely crazy achievement because luckily there are almost no haters as of now. The episode starts with Ichigo's Horn of Salvation form fighting Yhwach, and already the animation is insane, but even with that form, Yhwach is still treating him like a child who walked into the final boss room way too early. And that's when Orihime becomes one of the most important parts of this fight. I know people have disrespected Orihime for years, saying that she only says Kurosaki-kun and heals people, but this episode basically said, we shall see. Honestly, before we even talk about Ichigo's Bankai or Yhwach rewriting everything, we need to talk about Orihime, because this episode might be the strongest Orihime has ever looked and been in the entire series. She's standing against Soul King Yhwach, not normal enemy, not someone fair. This is Yhwach after absorbing the Soul King, throwing out attacks that are breaking Ichigo and Rukia apart, and Orihime still keeps moving. She blocks, she heals, she gets impaled, thrown down, covered in blood, and still gets back up again. And the scary thing is, Yhwach keeps attacking her mentally too. He keeps telling Ichigo that Orihime is his weakness, that his desire to protect is the reason he will lose. And honestly, that is such a cruel way to attack Ichigo, because protecting people is literally the core of his character. But Orihime still doesn't stop. She is bleeding, exhausted, barely standing, and still trying to defend Ichigo. And what makes it harder is that her power is not framed like a flashy battle power. It is pure defense, pure rejection, pure I will not let this happen. That is why the title Defend You feels so perfect for her. Ichigo's whole identity is about protecting others, but in this episode he is the one who keeps needing to be protected, and Orihime does not hesitate even for a second. Even when Yhwach calls her Ichigo's weakness, the episode kind of proves the opposite. Orihime is not Ichigo's weakness, she is one of the reasons he can keep fighting, and by the end when she starts pushing herself past her own limits, it feels like her rejection is going beyond just healing wounds or blocking attacks. It almost feels like she's trying to reject Yhwach's existence itself. That is why her final moment is so scary, because it does not feel like she just lost. It feels like she actually did something huge. Maybe she erased Yhwach for a moment, maybe she rejected that entire future, maybe she forced the Almighty to respond. I will be speaking about this soon, but before that, it's crazy and good to see that Rukia arrives. And this was such a good moment because Rukia deserves to be there. She is the one who started Ichigo's journey as a Soul Reaper. She was the person who gave him that first push into this world. So seeing her stand beside Ichigo against Yhwach just feels right. And of course, even in the middle of fighting God, Ichigo and Rukia come to argue like idiots. I don't know how, but this is so Bleach. But then the episode goes even further and gives Rukia her Bankai again, Hakka no Togame, against Yhwach. And it looked beautiful but also brutal, because Yhwach just cuts through everything. Ichigo, Rukia, Orihime, all of them are giving everything they have, and Yhwach still feels untouchable. And then we get the moment, Ichigo's new Bankai. And what even was that? This is not the Bankai we saw in the manga. This is something completely new. 2 horns, red eyes, black markings, a different sword, those burning chain-like shackles around his body. It looks like Horn of Salvation and True Bankai fused into his Vasto Lord form. And honestly, this is exactly what manga readers wanted years ago. I'm gonna mention a lot of spoilers now, so anime onlys can skip to this timestamp if they want, or just leave the video. Okay, so because in the manga Ichigo's True Bankai got revealed and then Yhwach broke it almost immediately, we never really got to see what it could do. But here the anime finally lets Ichigo fight. He starts moving like a monster. He is creating after images, clones, delayed slashes, chain-like blocks, massive Getsuga attacks, and Yhwach actually has to pay attention. And to be honest, this reminded me of when Zangetsu was creating those clones against Ichigo when he was training under Urahara. So has Ichigo finally unlocked the same powers? Let me know. But now Here's where the theories start to get crazy. What if this is not the same Bankai from the manga? What if Ichigo's Bankai has multiple forms? Because the one we saw here looks heavily connected to the hollow side. The two horns, the black markings, the blood chains, all of that feels like White fully awakened inside his Bankai. And Ichigo was mostly using one sword here, so maybe this is not the complete true Bankai, but maybe this is like a hollow dominant Bankai form, and the manga version could still happen later on. Next episode, I guess, when he will use both sides of his Zangetsu properly. If that happens, then the anime did something really smart this time. It did not replace the manga's Bankai, it added another layer before it, so Ichigo might have more than one Bankai state or one Bankai with different forms depending on which part of his power is taking control. Soul Reaper, Hollow, Quincy, all of that could create different expressions and combinations of the same final power. And that would honestly make Ichigo's final form way more interesting than the manga ever got to show. Then we cut back to Uryu versus Yugram, and this part might be the key to the entire episode because Uryu finally figured out the weakness of Yugram's version of Almighty. Yugram can see the future, but after using that power, there seems to be a small opening, around 3 seconds. And Uryu uses these 3 seconds perfectly. He brings that Sanrei glove, the same kind of Quincy glove connected to his old Blade Steel moment from Soul Society arc, and he uses it against Yugram. That is such a smart callback. Instead of beating Yugram with raw power, Uryu uses the exact kind of Quincy sacrifice mechanic that once cost him his powers. And by forcing that onto Yugram, he seems to strip away the almighty power that Yhwach gave him. But this might also be where Uryu accidentally messes everything up, because if Yugram loses the almighty, the power probably returns to Yhwach, and if Yhwach gets the almighty back at the exact moment Orihime was about to reject, then this whole ending becomes terrifying, because what if Orihime actually won for a minute, and what if she really did delete Yhwach from that moment, because Uryu defeated Yugram at the same time. The almighty returned to Yhwach right before the end, letting him see his own death and rewrite it. That would mean Orihime's plan worked, but Uryu's victory accidentally gave Yhwach the one thing he needed to survive it. And that also means Orihime might not be dead, which is kinda good. She may have rejected Yhwach so completely that both of them disappeared from the timeline or that possible future. But if Yhwach rewrites the results, she could return when reality gets corrected. And this connects to another theory. What if this entire episode is a future that Yhwach saw? What if episode 45 is basically the future where Ichigo, Rukia, Orihime and Uryu almost win? Yhwach sees Ichigo's new Bankai, understands how dangerous it is, sees Orihime's power reaching a new level that could threaten him, and he rewrites everything. That would explain why this episode feels so different from the manga. Maybe next episode Yhwach reverses everything, maybe he creates a new timeline where these events never fully happen, or he changes the path so that we end up closer to the manga version, where Ichigo's Bankai gets destroyed before it can become a threat. And if that happens, that is insane, because it means this episode was not filler, it was not fanfiction, it was the future Yhwach had to erase because he would have lost this time. That would make him feel even more terrifying than the manga, but I really hope the anime is careful with this, because if everything gets erased too casually, people might feel the episode did not matter. So the best version would be this: these events get overwritten, but the emotional weight stays. Ichigo remembers something, Orihime's power still matters, Uryu's moves still affect Yhwach, and Yhwach now knows he cannot let Ichigo's full power exist, because this episode gave Orihime, Rukia, Ichigo and Uryu so much justice. Especially Orihime. This was her episode as much as it was Ichigo's. She defended him until the very end. She took everything onto herself, and if this really is her sacrifice, then the title Defend You is honestly brutal. So yeah, episode 45 might be one of the best episodes of TYBW so far. And if Yhwach has to rewrite everything after that, then that means Orihime was not useless. It means she was dangerous enough for the final villain to need a reset. So yeah, Ichigo's Bankai broke the internet, Rukia joining the fight was amazing, and Uryu outsmarting Yugram was crazy, but Orihime might honestly be the emotional heart of this episode, and Orihime might have done the impossible against Yhwach. But now the big question is, did any of this actually happen, or did any of this actually stick, or is Yhwach about to return with the Almighty and erase the future where he lost? Let me know what you think. Was this Ichigo's true Bankai, or just one form of it? Did Uryu accidentally save Yhwach by defeating Yugram? And do you think Orihime is actually gone? Or is Yhwach about to rewrite everything next episode? Let me know in the comments, and thank you so much for watching until the end. This was a long video, so I'll see you guys next week, and goodbye.